Hey, what's going on? I'm Quis, joined by JD, and this is the Knicks Report. In this show, we'll be going over the recent Hawks versus Knicks game. So, JD, how you doing?
Doing well. I feel great.
Great
I'm
after a
hyped.
great win, right?
Knicks Nation's on fire.
Yeah, things got a little dicey, but the Knicks still found a way to emerge victorious. We won 123 to 112. 112. Not to pat myself on the back, but I do recall mentioning that if we had some good showings between Emmanuel Quickly and Derrick Rose, you know, we should emerge victorious. And, I know you might come at me and say I'm overlooking somebody, but trust me, I'm not. We all know Julius
We'll get
Randle
to
was
it.
also a big contributor, but we got to start the show off and just give him a shout out. So, JD, how were some of your predictions? Because if the viewers watching don't know, we dropped a preseason, or not preseason, but a pregame video yesterday, which I'll link up above if anybody wants to check it out and just fact check us. And I feel like I got a few of my points correct. What about you? I know I did decent with IQ and Rose and also defensively, but what about some of your takes?
I'm pretty sure we'll get a lot wrong throughout
Yeah.
the season.
Yeah, man.
You
That's why you
know,
got to pat your back when you finally get one.
finally get one right. Yeah. I mean, when we did the segment of play to watch, I mentioned R.J. Barrett, and it was mostly because he was, struggling, but also his career numbers. I looked at his career numbers versus the Hawks and how that was a favorable matchup just because he's been playing well against them. His last previous game before last night, he had 26 and 11 with 5 assists. And then last night he had 21 and 6. And I actually predicted 21 points and 6 rebounds. And I wanted him to take three threes, which he took three threes, but he made one. He made three, I'm sorry. I thought he would make one. And so the stat line was pretty much spot on. But I'm just happy he had a good game, more so than if my take was correct or not. I'm so glad it was correct because that means that one of our young cornerstone players bounced back.
Definitely. I hear you on that. Just so the viewers can actually check it out and confirm, I got the box score up so everybody can check it out. So, like you said, RJ Barrett, 33 minutes, 8 of 14 from the field, 3 of 3 from the 3 point line, 3 assists, 6 rebounds, 21 points.
Yep, Julius Randle as well. I predicted he would have 37 points, and he blew my prediction out the water because he had 44. He almost had a career high. He was 1 point away from a career high. So, wow, what a game!
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to start the show patting myself on the back because I know at some point I'd have to come on here and admit that I wanted Julius Randle traded before the season started. And as a Knick fan, you can't be right with all your takes, but if somebody's going to prove you wrong, you hope that they prove you wrong and it's benefiting the team. And Julius Randle was out there balling hard. He was at some points the only consistent offensive threat out there sometimes. We saw in few moments of the game where things kind of got stagnant and they would go to Randall and he would help get things, jump started. He would hit either a deep three that would kind of shock me. And I'm like, what? Since when Randall have range like this? Or he would get into the paint and, make that patented fadeaway mid-range shot that he's been using since he's been with us. And I just I don't know if I feel comfortable saying that this is somebody that we should continue to build around, for the next 4, 5, 6 years. But I'm gonna enjoy what he's contributing and what he's doing for the Knicks right now, and I'm happy for him. And hopefully he'll be a All Star. I know I voted for him. JD, did you vote for him as well?
Of course, every day. Vote for Julius Randle. Vote for Julius Randle. He deserves to be an All Star. Come on, Knicks Nation. We have so many people in New York. I mean, he should be one of the leaders in the voting, if you ask me, especially with all the Knicks fans. So I know it just takes a little bit of effort just going on the website, getting through that stuff and voting. But come on, let's make our presence felt because he is a deserving All-Star for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's been great. RJ, like you mentioned, he was good as well. Nerlens Noel as a defensive threat. Like my prediction was, will I want to say it was a prediction. It was more so of a what to watch, and that was what the Knicks would be able to do defensively, and not allowing Trey Young, Reddish, and some of those other players like a John Collins to really feast in the paint. Also Clint Capella. He's always a threat with the alley oop. So to see that the Knicks went out there and we still gave up 112 points, but that could be more so the style of play that the Hawks play. There's going to be a lot more possessions, and you're going to see a higher scoring game. I think the last game we won, it was what, 113 to 108.
Yep.
So yeah, so we've already seen moments where these guys, when they play against each other, it can be a high scoring event. And what I like the fact is not necessarily the total points, but when you compare what the team did defensively this game compared to January 4th when we played them the first time, I like what I see. We are without Mitch, and in this game, we only allowed 42 points in the game in the paint. In January 4th, they scored 50 points in the paint. Now, also, if you're looking at the field goal percentages, last night they only shot 42%. January 4th, they shot 46%. So you're seeing we made some defensive improvements, at least statistically, and we were missing arguably our most dynamic piece defensively, which is a Mitchell Robinson. And, Nerlens Noel stepped up. What did he have? 3 blocks, if I'm not mistaken?
Yep.
Yeah, so even Taj Gibson, he gave some minutes sparingly, even though uh, it's Taj Gibson. You get what you're gonna get from him. But the
Right.
team as a unit was still serviceable defensively, and if they can continue to have this level of effort, teams are gonna be scared to deal with us in the playoffs. Because remember, when we're talking about playoff basketball, you're talking about a more defensive minded approach. And the Knicks are a defense or one of the best teams in the league defensively. So if you put us out there, we're going to at least have a shot to push whoever we're going up against. I forgot what game it was, and you can hear the announcers. I think it was Clyde, where the other was it the Trailblazers? I think it was the Trailblazers. We were going against the Trailblazers, and you could hear Clyde say they just didn't want to bang with us. Pause. They didn't want to have to beat up on us and or have us beat up on them. They wanted the easy way out. They wanted to shoot threes. So if we have that mindset where we're gonna close out the paint and we're gonna force opposing teams to live or die by the three, I think that's something the Knicks could live with, because also we've been good at defending the 3-pointer as well. So if we can continue to move like this and play like we did in this Hawks game, where they still, like other people have been saying, the Wizards, they weren't a full team, the Rockets, they weren't a full team. And yeah, the Hawks weren't a full team, but we didn't have Mitch, and they still had Trey, they still had Collins, the two high scorers on their team. They still had what's his name, Capella. They still had all these players. They had Reddish. So I just think the Knicks right now are in a good place, and if we keep this defensive intensity up, the sky's the limit.
It's an exciting time. This is fun, man. This team is fun to watch. And I think everyone would agree with that, being that it's a good collection of, you got some homegrown talent here, some draft picks, and then you have some veteran players that are playing hard for Thibodeau. And so I think that collection has all developed into, they seem to be a close team. They seem to be a team that likes to play with each other. The Derrick Rose addition has been a positive one, not only on the court, but off the court in the locker room, being that he is a player that has cachet, um, and young players still look up to him. And so he has the respect of the young players like a Quickly and an Obi Toppin. And then you have a great coaching staff, a well assembled coaching staff. So I think this team is slowly growing. And Tibbs' consistency with how he's managing the team is slowly leading to more consistent results. And as I mentioned, you know, in yesterday's show, this was considered a good win. Look at all the excitement that this game had on the community, on Knicks Nation after yesterday's game. Everyone was excited and hype and, you know, everything. And it was because I anticipated, because of the previous two games we had versus the Wizards and the Rockets. I felt that considering this was a big game for the Hawks, and as we mentioned again in one of our takes, you saw the Hawks were not giving up. The Hawks were fighting to the end. And even with Trae Young's theatrics, they were trying to do everything they could, to win this game, to get foul calls, which that's another topic, how ridiculous, the refereeing these days are. And this today, it's just, oh man,
Gotta live
it,
with it, unfortunately.
it was unreal seeing some of these calls. And I'm sure, Knicks fans that are watching would know what I'm alluding to. And this is not only as being a Knicks fan, this is objectively speaking. Some of the calls yesterday were just mind-boggling. But, the Knicks got through that. And so, it was a big game. The Knicks pulled out with the win. And that's why everyone is excited, because we played a talented Hawks team that is underachieving, but is still talented. And so now we move on to the Orlando Magic, and the Knicks are going to look to build and make a run here. They have the opportunity here to do that, being that the San Antonio game is postponed after Orlando, and so they're going to start a big homestand with very winnable games. And so this is a major opportunity here to really make noise. The East is giving you a lot of opportunity to jump up in the standings, a lot of parity. And so this we're gonna look back at this time here, this stretch that we're about to enter. We're gonna look back at this stretch at the end of the season in terms of where the Knicks land in the standings. This is gonna be a season defining stretch here, this homestand that's coming up.